In fact, Calvin Klein and Jay-Z both together got arrested out of state. I'm not sure what state, for a shooting, and they were both going to go to jail or go to trial. But Calvin Klein said that he took all the weight so Jay-Z wouldn't have to deal with the trial, because he knew Jay-Z was going to make it big at some point, because he was already rapping and he was like on his way up. So according to Calvin, he took the weight. He went away for a few years on the shooting, expecting Jay-Z to hook him up when he got out. Berkowitz said himself that he was part of a satanic cult, and these killings were part of the cults. What they were looking to do was kill people and start like a havoc in New York City. And Berkowitz said that himself. After he said that, shortly after, he was grabbed in jail and slashed, and they just nearly missed his jugular. And since then, he won't talk about the killings at all. He says he's in fear of not only his life, but the life of his family. He's got some relatives still alive, so he won't talk about it. But Berkowitz actually admitted to being part of this organization or cult or whatever you want to call them. Getting back to Tiny, he said that one of the members of his biker gang actually did a Son of Sam style killing, and the guy was actually in jail for a whole different case. Had nothing to do with Berkowitz. He was in jail, and he gave us the guy's name. So we went up and we interviewed this guy. Now, before going up, I told Tiny, what would make this guy want to talk to us? He has no reason to talk to us. He's in jail. He's getting out soon, actually. What would be this guy's motive for talking to us about the past shootings that he did, the Berkowitz style shootings? And what he said was, this guy did another homicide. Had nothing to do with Berkowitz, nothing to do with this cult. He said he did a homicide at a basketball court. He said, in front of a whole bunch of people. He said, if you have witnesses to that homicide, this guy would be afraid he'd go to jail for that homicide. Maybe you could get him to talk about the Berkowitz shootings or the Son of Sam style shootings. So what I did was I put a couple of phone books in an envelope folder, and made this guy think we had information on that basketball shooting.
Right.
And I went up there and I threw it on the desk and I told him, you did a shooting, and it was in New York, I think, or Brownsville. I don't remember where. I said, you killed a guy in Brownsville playing basketball in front of 50 people. This folder is full of 50 people I want to testify against you for that shooting you did in the basketball court. Because apparently he was playing basketball, something went wrong. He went to his car, pulled out a gun, and shot this guy in front of everybody. He didn't care. I said, this folder's full of people that are going to testify against you. And once I said that, he was stunned, because he was on his way to go home, and now he's going to get hit with this old homicide.
Right.
So I said, the only way you can help yourself is if you give us a statement. I'll make this thing go away. Give us a statement on the shooting you did that was like the Son of Sam shooting. And he did. He gave us a written statement that he shot 2 people in like a lover's lane in Cypress Hills, which is in Brooklyn. And the victims were black, he said, and it was never investigated. And he gave us a whole written statement on it. Not only did he give us a written statement on that, he gave us a written statement on the shooting he did in the basketball court. He admitted to that on paper.
Did that catch up with him, or?
Well, what happens eventually is the NYPD, the supervisors, whatever, they made the cases go away. They didn't want us to deal with this Berkowitz case anymore, and we were told to drop everything basically.
They didn't want the publicity. They didn't want it being brought back up. It just, you know why, or what do you think?
What I think is that, well, first of all, it was never going to be an open and shut case. You know, there was a lot more work to do on if these other people did exist, and if this cult was involved, or how many more people were involved. That's number one. So it was never an open and shut case for sure. But also, I think that the NYPD or the supervisors at the time, or whatever, all the way up to the mayor's office, Berkowitz was in jail. He admitted to the killings. People got promoted.
He's not talking.
He's not talking. Like I said, some people got promoted. You know, it was fine the way it was, basically.
Okay.
No need to open it up and stop more. You know, well, what if after 20 years you find out that you what if after 20 years you find out that you were living next to one of these guys that was doing these killings, and he's been out all these years? Not 20 years, since 1976, right? I mean, and more than one people doing these killings, and living a free life now. So I think it would have been bad for the police department.
Okay. All right. So what about you worked undercover, right?
Yeah.
How does that work? Like,
so, you know, I worked undercover mostly when I was with the DEA. I bought, narcotics. In fact, I bought drugs from a kind of a well-known guy. So there were certain areas in Brooklyn, all over, obviously everywhere, but this was in the early 90s. The crack epidemic was out of control, right? And the chief asked me, what we could do about it. So these gangs and these cliques and these drug organizations are hard to infiltrate, and very few of them, if they did flip, if the people in the organizations flipped, their lives were in danger, and so it was hard to get in.
If you guys didn't know, I do paintings, and if you're interested in a painting, I'm going to leave my contact information in the description beneath the video. Back to the video.
So what I do is I would just take the DEA car. I had a car assigned to me, and it was a seized car. So it was a regular vehicle. There was no lights on it, no sirens, none of that shit. Just a regular seized vehicle. And I drive through and try to hang out in these neighborhoods where we were targeting, basically, where these main guys lived and where they hung out. On this one particular case that I'll talk about, it was the Red Hook projects, which at the time had like some of the one of the areas in New York that had the most shootings and the most killings. And I meet this guy, and I don't take the DEA with me, because if I can't have a surveillance team following me. First of all, I'm the only Italian guy in this whole area, only white guy, only Italian guy in this area. And then if they would see other guys in cars, just happen to see other guys in cars on the same day, they would know right away that I was, obviously. Right. So I didn't tell anyone. I would just go out on my own. I'd wear like a shirt where they could see I had no wire, no gun. I'd wear, very casual clothes, so they would know I was unarmed. And I would just drive around the area, and I'd just try to meet people. And I eventually met people. I eventually meet this guy who's a pretty big crack dealer, and he introduces me to a guy by the name of Calvin Klein Bacote. Now, Calvin Klein he's the guy that Jay-Z sings about in a couple of songs. And according to Calvin Klein and other people, he's the persona that Jay-Z kind of takes when he talks about all this drug activity and the shootings. In fact, Calvin Klein and Jay-Z both together got arrested out of state. I'm not sure what state, for a shooting. And they were both going to go to jail or go to trial. But Calvin Klein said that he took all the weight so Jay-Z wouldn't have to deal with the trial, because he knew Jay-Z was going to make it big at some point, because he was already rapping and he was like on his way up. So according to Calvin, he took the weight. He went away for a few years on the shooting, expecting Jay-Z to hook him up when he got out, which I don't think ever happened. I've heard on YouTube and other places that Calvin was kind of upset that Jay-Z never hooked him up. But it's obvious it was him that he was singing about in these songs. I think he even mentions him a few times. He talks about a particular spot where Jay-Z supposedly did these drug deals, and that's the spot where me and this guy Calvin did the deals. So I get Calvin. I get him pretty for heavy felony crack weight. And he goes away. He does a lot of time. I'm not sure how much. I forgot. I used to know, but he did at least 10 years, maybe more for the crack. And that was actually a really good case because he was known to be a shooter. He was a bad guy. Let's just say that.